Hello everyone, my name is Guardian E, and welcome to my breakdown and best build guide for Spring Princess Camilla. Now, I've been pretty much using Spring Camilla since pulling her back in April of this year for all content in Fire Emblem Heroes. She's been a mainstay on my teams for a variety of reasons, and she's in my mind one of the most powerful, most versatile, and underrated units in all of Fire Emblem Heroes. And since she's about to make her return with the Legendary Hero Summoning event, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to have a thorough breakdown of Spring Camilla, showcase some optimal builds, and discuss some overall strategies. So first things first, why run Spring Camilla? Let's take a look at her stats right over here. At neutral, she has 39 HP, 35 attack, 25 speed, 30 defense, and 19 resistance. Now, her stats might not look like much. In fact, you may even balk at that speed stat. But you have to remember that they're balanced around flyer buffs. And something that I do want to note is that while Camilla's speed stat appears to be fairly lacking, it's also her +4, -4 boon bane, which means that the difference between a minus speed Spring Camilla and a plus speed Spring Camilla is very substantial. The mere fact that she's a flyer and has access to movement-based buffs means that she can reach upwards of 50 speed with moderate flyer buffs, which isn't that difficult to accomplish because of Flyer's inherent positioning flexibility. With Summoner and Ally support, she can reach 56 speed on initiation, and this is without any merges at all. This is a +0 Spring Camilla. But the takeaway is that the Flyer buffs really make a huge impact on Flyer stats. As I previously mentioned, Spring Camilla is without a doubt one of the most versatile units in the entire game, being able to comfortably run builds that will allow her to be an excellent player phase or enemy phase unit. She's also fairly IV resistant, meaning that while she definitely has some optimal IVs, Camilla can be run with any IVs. It really just limits the kind of builds you can make, which we'll be going over a little bit later in the video. Spring Camilla is the rare class of Flying Mage, in fact introducing the class to Fire Emblem Heroes. Having that degree of movement flexibility combined with range magic nuking potential, that's not something to be taken lightly. She can either be run in or out of a flyer team. Not all of her builds require her to be used in Fire Emblem, although that's certainly where she excels and shines. Spring Camilla is definitely anti-meta. Now, some of you may have already seen my video called How Flyers Deal with the Choose Your Legends meta, where Spring Camilla basically dominates both Reinhardt and Brave Lynn on enemy phase. And this tactic has only been made stronger with the support system and seals that were introduced after that video. She excels in both arena and non-arena game modes. A lot of guides and tier lists only focus on arena, and arena is really only one small part of Fire Emblem Heroes. Camilla can be a valuable asset for your team or teams in any game mode. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, Camilla's eye candy? Second to none. She is definitely easy on the eyes. So, what sets should you be running on Spring Camilla? And you'll notice that I say sets there. Well, I say this because if you get a Spring Camilla, and depending on your IVs, you may want to equip her with a variety of loadouts so you can swap skills to handle different content. Now, please keep in mind that these are just my recommended builds. If you have a build that you want to try or that you've heard elsewhere, you can and really should try it on your Spring Camilla and build your Spring Camilla however you want to, because after all, that's frankly half the fun of the game. First up is the Raven build. Have Reinhardt and Brave Lynn been ruining your day? If so, this could be the perfect build for you. This is probably one of Camilla's most flexible builds, allowing her to be used either inside or outside of a Fire Emblem team, with any IVs, and as both a player phase and enemy phase unit all at once. It also takes advantage of Camilla's considerable defense stat. A lot of this build involves ensuring her defense and res are as high as possible against ranged units, and that she can one-shot those ranged threats in return. This build makes short work of any archers, which are a common threat to flyer teams on either the enemy phase or the player phase. This build can similarly shrug off any attacks from blue units, and packs enough of a punch where she can take on greens as well. The one glaring weakness to this build is that she melts in the face of any reds, so proceed with caution. I prefer Draconic Aura for the special because it's further boosted by any flyer buffs that Camilla receives. Draconic Aura also allows her to one-shot certain cancel affinity bow users, as you can see in this clip where Camilla takes on Brave Lyn with cancel affinity 3 even on a defense tile. Or this clip of her destroying Takumi in the most recent Bound Hero battle. I personally enjoy Vantage because it allows you to KO both Reinhardt and Brave Lyn on turn 1 in Arena if you're facing against a cavalry team. You can see this in action right here, where Camilla will tank Reinhardt first, putting her in Vantage range, and then she KOs back in one shot. Then Lyn swoops in for the combo, but she gets Vantage for her troubles. Another commonly recommended setup includes using Green Tomebreaker instead of Vantage in the B slot. This can assist her in taking on some green mage threats that she might not otherwise be able to one-hit KO. As I said, this can be run either inside or outside of a Fire Emblem team. However, it certainly excels within a Flyer team due to the damage boosts guaranteeing one-shot kills against characters like Reinhardt and Lyn. Despite the inherent tankiness of this build and strong baiting potential as an enemy phase unit, it does excellent damage on player phase as well, and Camilla becomes a considerable check against all colorless and blue units, while dealing great damage against greens as well. And here we have a more standard Gromblade build. You can more or less run this set with any IVs as long as you have access to flyer buffs. The Gromblade boosted damage will take care of any attack bane. Standard Camilla doesn't have the speed necessary to double many of the current meta units, so the goal is increasing her one-shot potential with offensive skills such as Death Blow 3 and slapping a plus attack seal on her. It's recommended that if you run this build that you have both Hone Flyers and Fortify Flyers at her disposal, which will boost Camilla's total Gromblade damage by a whopping 30. You're not going to miss that -3 attack when you have that boost. I also like Draconic Aura on this build because the damage from Draconic Aura is further amplified by all of the Gromblade boosts, reaching insane thresholds and ensuring kills on characters you otherwise wouldn't be able to. Moonbow is also a solid option, since the Gromblade will add 1 to your special cooldown. Quick Riposte 3 can be used in the B slot to ensure that she doubles back against any mages on enemy phase. Or you can use the ever-popular Green Tomebreaker to ensure doubles against the likes of Julia's and Sonia's, Cecilia's, and any other Spring Camillas you might encounter along the way. I'd personally lean towards Green Tomebreaker in this build, specifically because she's going to be primarily used as a player phase unit. Next up, we have a defensive Gromblade build, utilizing Close Counter and Vantage to ensure that Spring Camilla strikes back hard from any range. The advantages of this build are that you basically set her and forget her. You put her in enemy range and let her go to work. It utilizes her high defense stat to take a hit to enter Vantage range, and then she does the rest. This build can really only work with flyer buffs, and really only shines with a plus attack IV. Personally, I feel as though the potency of this build has been weakened a bit due to the prevalence of Panic Ploy, and the introduction of the Hardy Bearing Seal. It relies more upon being a stationary one-shot KO target on enemy phase, which means it's a little bit more susceptible to being Panic Ployed. And lastly, we have the Speedster variation of the Gromblade build, and one of my personal favorites. This build basically requires a plus speed Spring Camilla, with the focus being on giving her every speed stat boost possible. This build is even able to double the likes of Ira and Mia of recent power creep fame, as you can see here. Plus speed Spring Camilla starts at 29 speed. Throw on that speed seal to put her at 32. Darting Blow adds another 6 speed to put her at 38 on initiation. Hone Flyers further adds another 6 speed to put her at 44. If an ally is running Goad Flyers, which they totally should be, this puts her at 48 to 52 speed depending on if you're running 1 Goad or 2. And then, if you're really crazy, like me, you can further add in Summoner and Ally Support, which each add up to plus 2 speed respectively. This means that with all of the above, you're looking at a maximum of 56 speed on initiation before any merges at all. Further, once Desperation is active, she can also take on the likes of higher res red mages, such as Celica and Katarina. While some argue that Spring Camilla doubling Gromblade damage is overkill, I disagree. Recently, with infernal stat-boosted enemies, defense tiles, and a plethora of new units with higher BSTs, ensuring doubles is sometimes the only way of ensuring kills. Camilla also has enough res to be able to trade blows with other mages on initiation, and then enter Desperation range, which further amplifies her strength for subsequent kills. If you manage to pull a plus speed Spring Camilla, I strongly recommend that you try out this build. I don't think you'll regret it. So who should you pair with Spring Camilla? Well, she can certainly be run in Fire Emblem, and she favors pairings with strong blue units, specifically Flying Lancers. They can dispose of magical resistant or red threats, while carrying the Hone Flyer's buff and providing repositioning support. Within Fire Emblem, you have a variety of options when running buffs. If you don't have any Hones, you can actually run 3 Goads on your team and still run Gronraven effectively. For any Gronblade builds, you will want that Hone Flyer support. 1 Hone and 2 Goads maximizes the speed for Spring Camilla if you opt to run the Speedster variation. 1 Hone, 1 Fortify, and 1 Goad can maximize the one-shot damage, boosting her Gromblade damage by a whopping 30 attack. And you don't even need to run a full Flyer set. You could just take a Hinoka, slap a Fortify Res or Fortify Defense seal on her, and all of a sudden she alone boosts Gromblade Spring Camilla by 22 damage, just by herself. Other than that, flying mages such as Summer Corrin and Halloween Noe also work very well with Spring Camilla. If you opt to run Spring Camilla outside of Fire Emblem, you can use blue buff bots like Brave Lucina or Ephraim, and further you can use the Guidance Seal to assist in enhancing the movement options of these infantry units. Dancers also complement her very well, such as Festival Azura. And with that concludes my comprehensive guide and breakdown for Spring Camilla. If you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, please leave a comment, like, and feel free to subscribe for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. I hope that this was somewhat helpful in guiding you into how you want to build your own Spring Camilla. And if you end up pulling for her on the upcoming Legendary Hero Summoning event, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for watching.